Breaking into the tech industry, the minimum requirements. This is really important. Obviously, if you don't meet the requirements, you're not eligible to break into the tech industry. There's only two. And so let's get into it. So, agenda, uh, we'll get into what those requirements are. I'll also go over what you don't need to break in. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and I think a lot of people are complicating how difficult it is to actually break into the tech industry. And so I want to dispel some of those myths and talk about what you don't need to break in. I'll also go over who tech sales is not for, and then we'll conclude. The too long didn't watch of this video is you need a college degree, so a bachelor's, or 4+ years of work experience to be able to break into the tech industry. And the good news here is you only need one of those things. Resources are attached below in the video, and as always, leave your questions below. So, getting into the education requirement, you need to have a college degree, a bachelor's or equivalent. That's it. It's pretty cut and dry. You either have a college degree, a bachelor's degree, or you don't. And if you don't, then the next slide will go over the other requirement. And if you don't have either one of these requirements, you can't break into the tech industry. And so military experience counts and is welcome. This would be considered an equivalent. I've seen a lot of ex-military folks break into the tech industry successfully. In fact, the tech industry loves recruiting from the military. I'm not sure what it is, but they do it very regularly. In fact, one of my best buddies comes from the Marines, and he has a really successful career in the tech industry. The type of degree doesn't matter at all. That's right. It doesn't matter what you majored in college. Or for those of you that are listening to this video and thinking about jumping into the tech industry later, it doesn't matter if you choose computer science, business, marketing, some sort of tech related degree, doesn't matter. What matters more is actually picking a degree that you'll have fun in and be engaged in and do things with. And so pick if you're thinking about going to college or going back to college, or you're listening to this and you're thinking about what major you should choose, the degree doesn't matter. Pick whatever feels right to you and whatever your calling is. Trust me, you will find a good opportunity after, because and furthermore, the reputation of the school doesn't matter either. um there people just come from all walks of life in the tech industry. I've seen all kinds of schools, and so don't get caught up in the type of degree or the reputation of the school. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you have that bachelor's degree, and that's it. GPA doesn't matter either. I have been in tech sales for almost 10 years now. I've been in well over 100 interviews at this point, probably closer to 200 interviews. Not once have I been asked a GPA question, nor have I asked a GPA question or seen anyone ask a GPA question when I'm in the interviewer seat. And so it just doesn't come up. And if you don't have a degree, then you want to be approximately within 120 days of graduating. So about 4 months. That tends to be a really good spot to be in. Uh, and I do want to acknowledge this, which is that the value of the college degree it gets questioned a lot these days. What are you actually learning in college? What is the value of what you're getting taught in the classroom? And a lot of people feel that college isn't worth it anymore. You don't actually learn anything valuable or applicable or transferable to the real world. And so they feel that it's a waste of time. And look, I think there's pros and cons to college, but I am not here to make an argument. The reality is that in today's day and age, most tech companies still require a college degree, and thus that's what makes it valuable. So that's where I'll leave that discussion, that argument. Companies require it. And so you either have it or you don't. You're either playing the game or you're not. And what matters most is really how you can frame your college experience in a productive way. So, like, what clubs were you a part of? Did you take any leadership positions? Did you do any volunteer work? Any interesting internships? How involved and ambitious and proactive were you? Did you maximize your college experience? If you can showcase that, that matters a lot more than your GPA. That matters a lot more than the type of degree you got. It matters a lot more than the school you went to. So start to think about that, start to noodle on that, because once it comes up throughout your interviewing process, you're going to want to lean into those stories to sell yourself successfully. Okay, so what if you don't have a college degree? Um, this is the other requirement. So if you don't have a college degree, then you must have 4 or more years of work experience. That's it. 4 or more years of work experience. You either have it, again, you either have it or you don't. And the good news again is that the background doesn't even matter. So I've seen folks from all walks of life break into the tech industry: teachers, educators, construction workers, junior level lawyers. I've seen many engineers and technical types decide that they want to give tech sales a shot because they want to communicate and socialize more. I've seen a lot of retail, tons of restaurant, etc., all break into the tech industry. And so your background doesn't matter. And a tech background is not required at all. Don't let the tech industry, kind of the name, fool you. Just because you're going into tech doesn't mean you actually have to know everything there is about software and technology. It's kind of like working in the medical profession. The doctors and the surgeons are the ones that should know everything because they're the ones performing the surgery. There's a lot more at stake, and so they should know everything. But the nurses and the support staff, the administrative staff at hospitals, you know, they don't need to know everything as much as the doctors do. They just need to know enough to be supportive and to play a role in the overall ecosystem of the hospital. But they don't need to know everything. Same with the tech industry. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need to know about databases. You don't need to know about Salesforce or CRM. None of that. I'll go into what is important um, in a later presentation, but for now, tech background is not required. And I really want you to just internalize that in the back of your head. That tends to be a limiting belief for a lot of people, actually. Uh, but obviously, knowing how to use the technology does matter. So, look, if you're listening to this program, this course, chances are you know how to use a computer. You found this on that you found this program on Reddit or Twitter. You know how to navigate a smartphone. You know how to use Wi-Fi. Look, if that's you're qualified. If you know how to use technology, you're in. You have what it takes to break into the tech industry. Um, Now, here's okay. So I mentioned that the background doesn't matter. All that matters is you have the 4+ years of work experience. So that's true. But what matters, what does actually matter, and where you should put all your focus is how well you're able to position your past experiences and frame them in a compelling way. And so, if you're able to sell yourself well and speak about your past accomplishments, speak about your past experiences, and how you're going to be able to bring that to the table and offer value to the tech company, you can break in. But you don't need to know anything about tech. Your background doesn't matter. If you've been successful in your prior workplaces, just talk about how you were able to be successful and be able to talk about your stories and experiences. And if you can do that, you're going to be in a good place. So, going more into what you actually need versus what you don't need. So, a degree or 4+ years of work experience, either or. You need one or the other. That's it. You don't need both. The ability to sell yourself well, the ability to explain past accomplishments and how you can contribute to the team, an accomplishment driven resume filled with stats, a good email campaign for the hiring team so you can stand out. And then again, you're going to hear me say this often throughout the program, but how to sell yourself, which really just means superior interviewing skills. Um, and this is specifically for tech sales, but again, this applies to the career paths such as customer success, support, marketing, deal desk, software engineering. Basically, any of the soft skill focused professions within tech don't require certifications and they're low barrier to entry. Here's what you don't need: you don't need a certification of any sort. Salesforce, Amazon Web Services, any data, etc. You don't need certifications. You don't need a tech sales boot camp or a boot camp of any sort. These are entry level roles that we're going to be targeting, which means that the requirements are low, and because the requirements are low, that means we don't need to do all this stuff like a certification or a boot camp in order to break in. We'll learn a lot on the job. So don't fall for that trap that you have to invest thousands of dollars in order to learn tech, to learn the tech industry and be able to break in. It's overkill. You don't need coding skills. You don't need software engineering skills. You don't need to know the ins and outs of computer systems, and you don't need a tech background. The only exception to this is if you are a highly technical individual who has an interest in software engineering, coding, development, IT, infrastructure, or network operations. But I must warn you that these are highly technical roles. I don't focus on these in this program. I really focus on these other roles that are low barrier to entry and don't have a technical emphasis, meaning you don't have to learn anything that's overly difficult or complicated, because again, the goal here really is to help you break in, increase your income as quickly and efficiently as possible. That's the goal here. And so we're going to be targeting entry level, low barrier to entry, non-technical roles. Which brings me to my next point. There are many roles within the tech industry. Look for the roles that are low barrier to entry and don't require advanced knowledge. So roles like tech sales, marketing, customer success, support team, etc. I keep alluding to them throughout this program, but you should also go ahead and do your research outside of this program. Um, but you know, just keep this in mind, which is that just because you're in tech doesn't mean you need to know tech. You just have to know enough. And so, again, you'll see these certifications and skills come up time and time again. I see these all over Reddit. People are always asking, what certification should I get? What training or program should I go get? What programming languages should I learn? And for the roles that we're targeting, which are the low barrier to entry, non technical roles, that's not important. You don't need these. You'll hear about CompTIA, you'll hear about Cisco, you'll hear about Amazon AWS certifications, Microsoft certifications, Python, Java. You don't need any of that. What becomes important in these roles that we're going to be targeting on the path to 150K is your soft skills. So how well are you communicating? How well are you at problem solving, working with others, adapting to changes? That's really what matters most in these roles, and they tend to still pay really well. And so, who is tech/tech sales not for? Um, Basically, anyone below the age of 22. Usually, the 4 years of work experience means you'll be approximately 22, 23. But if you're below the age of 22, you're not qualified. Uh, most folks that break into tech are in that 22, 23 range because that's usually when college ends and they graduate. And so, if you're below the age of 22, you're probably not going to have success breaking into tech. And I'd recommend other pathways for you. Um, you don't meet the requirements that we discussed. Um, If you are not social or, you know, extremely antisocial, tech is the tech industry is probably not for you. Um, Tech industry tends to be really collaborative, and at any given time, you're working with other people. You're either working with teams internally or you're working with teams externally, so clients. So yeah, you have to be a team player. You know, you don't have to be the most extroverted person in the room. I'm not, but you know, you should be comfortable, friendly, social, outgoing. That's going to be important. If that's not you, tech industry probably is not for you. Um, if you're open to learning, approaching things with a growth mindset, and you're coachable, you're going to have a great time in the tech industry. If you're ambitious, if you're eager, willing to iterate and make improvements every step of the way, you're going to have a great time in tech. I highly recommend it for you. And then most importantly, you know, I live in the United States. I live in San Francisco, and so my teachings are all focused on the United States and Canada-based job markets. I don't know the job markets or tech industry in other countries outside of North America, and so um, you know, these programs are really have an emphasis on the U.S. and Canada job markets, and so for those of you that don't have a Canadian or United States citizenship, uh, you need to consider if your state, your country of citizenship has a booming tech industry. Um, for example, you can't be living in Mexico and be a Mexican resident uh, and apply to US based companies for US based pay rates and salary. It just doesn't work that way. There are far too many legal and immigration and tax implications that must be followed uh, for the tech company, and so they can't even hire you if they wanted to. And so just if you have any questions about this, post it in the comment section. But this is really important. I get messages all the time from people in Africa, Latin America, and just places all over the world asking, "Hey, can I break into tech and get paid American money and make all this money in my small village in the middle of nowhere?" And I get it. I really empathize with that. I know what it's like to not have much and not have much opportunity, but the reality is that there are legal immigration and tax implications involved, and so when in doubt, you you can only work in the country where you have citizenship. And so Q&A and next steps. Again, any questions, post them in the comment section. In terms of next steps, take a look at the resources and links. And feel free to post any different roles below. And I can let you know if they're low barrier to entry or not. And, just something to start noodling on, as you go through the program. But you should look into the resume masterclass on my website. This is going to help you land your initial set of interviews and start to break into the tech industry. Hold off on this for now. I really want you to complete this free program first and ensure that this is the right path for you. And so in the next video, I'll go over money, income, and benefits of the tech industry.